Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Rebecca Foster, and as a Commerce Ballarat board member, I'm here to welcome our final speaker for today's Business Day In. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are virtually meeting today, the Wathaurong people, as I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. As part of our Connect, Evolve and Recover program, the Commerce Ballarat team is very proud to offer our members and guests free access into the lounge rooms and offices of some incredible speakers over the course of today, including the fabulous Lucy Bloom this morning, if anyone happened to tune in for that, followed by some of Ballarat's best HR and business professionals at lunchtime. For our session today, the final one, I'm excited to welcome Jason Cunningham as one of Australia's leading business growth experts. Jason's driven to help business owners get the full financial and lifestyle rewards they deserve for all the risk and hard work that they put into it. His experience, viewpoint and personality, which we've just had a little snippet of and you're about to, make him a unique and relatable voice in the SME space. We've had Jason visit us twice before with Commerce, where he was always inspired new and innovative ideas, which couldn't be more important at this difficult time. I challenge you not to have a laugh with Jace today, so welcome, Jace.
Thanks, Beck. Before you go, you know how I'm technologically inept. Now, I just do the whole screen save thing, right? No, screen share. Is that right?
Screen share.
Can you
Not your notes. We don't want to see all the background stuff. Just go to the good stuff.
Yeah, I apologise for showing you that before. All right. Now, just tell me if that's working.
It is.
This
Over
is why
to
I
you.
get paid the big bucks. Well done, Beck.
Well done. Enjoy.
I didn't listen to my bio. Could you just say that a few more times? No, I'm not joking. Hey, guys, welcome, and thanks very much for your time. I know if there's one thing that we all share in common is the amount of time that we've got, and it has been a bit of a challenging time to repeat what pretty much every other person's probably said. Before I begin, I'll share with you a little bit about myself, and I'll only be very quick. I'm an accountant by trade, but first and foremost, I'm a business owner first, an accountant second. And this is my 24th year in business, and I started off on the 1st of December 1997. And I fell into public speaking in around 2000 and been doing it for a fair bit of time. And I like to enjoy myself. And so before we get into my prezzo, which is going to be around creating certainty in an uncertain world, I just wanted to share with you a couple of key rules, if I could, before we kick things off. The first thing is, despite the fact that I mentioned I'm an accountant, and I know most accountants, I think it's in our second or third year of our degree, there's a subject that actually removes our personality. I skipped that class, and with your permission, I'd like to have a little bit of fun during this presentation, and that's as long as you would let me have a bit of fun. If you want me to talk about BAS statements and tax returns and Division 7A liabilities and what a great job the tax office is doing, I'm more than happy to do that. But I thought, in the interest of everybody's being able to pay attention, because let's face it, on average, an adult's attention spans about 14 minutes. Mine hovers at around 2 or 3 minutes. I think if we have a little bit of fun along the way, I think the presentation will be more enjoyable and we'll get more out of it. And most of us will stay away. And for me, when I have fun, what I mean by that is I don't take myself too seriously, but I take the work that I do very seriously. And I like to enjoy the company we keep. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, this type of presentation I've found is the one that's most interactive. It's going to be hard for this to be interactive, but I'm just going to call up my little chat box over here. And so at any point in time along the journey, you want to ask me a question or fire a question at me, go for it. I'll either answer it along the way or we'll finish up at the end. So let's get into it. As I said, creating certainty in an uncertain world. The first thing I do when I talk to business owners, the first question I ask them is, the first thing I do is, tell me why you went into business. And more often than not, I get responses such as, my boss was an asshole. I thought I could do things better myself. I lost my job. I wanted to leave my own stamp on the world. And then the truth starts to come out and people start to say, I want to make more money. I want to be my own boss. I want to choose the hours that I work. I want to come and go as I please. I want to take 8 weeks off a year and head to Europe. I want to finish every Wednesday at midday, and I take Friday off. And, I really want to just enjoy the good life. And my follow-up question to that is, and how's that working out for you? And as we all know, for most of us, we go into business with these, to some extent, illusions of grandeur. We walk into business thinking that life is going to be grand. I know for myself, when I when I finished my degree, I'm a CPA by trade, or car parking attendant, no, certified practicing accountant. When I left university, I got a job at Ford Motor Company in Broadmeadows and Campbellfield, just down here, 20 minutes up the road in Melbourne. And I worked there for about 4.5 years. And I came to realise, sort of in that sort of last year of work, I came to realise it was going to take me a long time to be the boss. And I got together with a guy that I went to primary school, high school and university with, and we decided to jump into business together. I thought, you know what, I want to do this myself. I want to be in control of my own destiny. I want to dictate my own hours, and I want to be the boss. And that was my main driver. And yeah, the first few years were damn tough. I remember, you know, I was doing quite well at Ford. I was on about $54,000 a year, which 23 years ago is a big, significant sum of money. They got every eke of blood out of me. But in my first year of business, we turned over as a business $60,000. And my partner and I, my business partner and I, were earning $100 each month. So I went from 54 grand to 1,200 a year. And the irony of that whole thing was I was running a business, advising people on how to make money and keep money and make more money, and I wasn't making any myself. And I remember we only had 11 clients. But in that first year of business, we came across a business coach or a mentor. And I've always had a business coach, a mentor, or a non-executive member of our board, or somebody to provide us with a bit of guidance, because you can never know enough. And it's always good to get some independent or objective advice on where you're taking your organisation. And our first business coach, his name is Robert Elrington, he implored on us the importance of being on purpose. And he used to say to me, Jason, whether it's your personal life or your business life, you've got to be congruent with your purpose. And if you can nail your purpose, it'll form the foundation for your business. I said, Rob, that sounds great, but what are you talking about? What's a purpose? And he said, in business, we call it a purpose, a mission statement. And the key to a mission statement is to clearly articulate who do you serve and how do you serve them. If you can nail who do you serve and how do you serve her, if you can get that piece right, who do I serve and how do I serve them, that will form the crux of your offering. And if you can get all your team and yourself to buy into it, and your customer understands who do you serve and how do you serve them, that 80% of your business should away. And he said the key to that is to get out from behind your desk, stop doing tax returns and punching out BAS statements, and get away and work on your business and not in your business. So after 12 months, my partner, Robbie, and I, we packed up. We took our $1,200 each we had, and we bought a couple of plane tickets, and we flew north. We flew up to Port Douglas. It's like a lot of Melburnians, we flew north for the winter, if you like. And according to the tax office, we spent 14 days on our business plan. Now, look, we didn't need the tax deduction back then because we weren't making any money, but we went up, and what underpinned our business plan was our mission statement. And our mission at the practice is to help our clients achieve their business and personal goals through proactive service and ongoing advice. So when people ask me, Jason, what is it you do and how do you do it? It's pretty simple for me. It's to help our clients achieve their business and personal goals by providing proactive service and having an ongoing relationship. And I know that if we live up to that, we do well. If we can't do that, we just don't do business. And so fast forward to today, in our first year, we had 2 employees. Our turnover was 60,000. Today, there's about 62 of us, about 50 odd in Melbourne, and another 10, 12 in Sydney. And we turn over, best part of $12 million. And I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, 80% of our success, and I'm not saying I'm the most successful business owner out there, because I am not. And nor do I need to toot my own horn or anything like that. But I can't share with you more the importance of being on purpose and understanding who do I serve and how do I serve them. So my little yarn today is going to be based on a book I wrote a couple of years ago called Have Your Cake and Sell It Too, the 7 key ingredients to business success. And because we're only going to talk for half an hour and with about 15 minutes Q&A, I'll only go through the first couple of chapters. But it's based on a guy that I knew, and I still know. His name's Macca. And Macca is a good friend of mine. And every Friday, or we haven't for the last few weeks because we've got this whole ISO lockdown sort of behaviour going on, but every Friday, 5 or 6 mates would get together at the local gym. We'd have a workout, have a shower, go across the road, have some breakfast, and solve the problems of the world. And I don't know if you're like this, but if you get together with other business owners and you share your pain points and the problems you've got with your employees or team members or staff, or the issues you've got with your clients and debtors, or the issue you've got with your landlord, and you start to share those challenges, you share your war stories and your winning stories, you start to feel good about yourself. But Macca never had an issue. And the thing about Macca was, Macca earns more money than God. And to put that into context, he makes about $3 million a year, and he works 4 hours a week. And it's outstanding. He works 4 hours a week. Now, his 4 hours a week, he works on a Monday from 10 till 2. Now, you reckon your Mondays are pretty tough? This guy's whole week is jammed into a Monday. But he starts work at 10. By midday, it's Wednesday hump day. At 1 o'clock, it's Thursday afternoon beers, and 2 o'clock Friday, piss off, you're out the door. And I would always get to a point of about 9:30, 10 o'clock when I'd say, Macca, look, I've got to go back to work. And he'd say, Jace, where are you going? I go, mate, you don't understand. I've got clients, I've got meetings, I've got employees, I'm busy. He goes, mate, just take an extra half an hour, have another coffee. Let's go for a walk, let's play a game of golf, let's play tennis, let's take it easy. I go, no, you don't understand. He goes, mate, you don't understand. It's your business, you make the decisions. Now, as a boy, now there'd be some boys in the audience, and some people in the audience are married to a boy or have a significant other that's a man. Most of us blokes, we take a little bit longer to learn a lesson than we should. And it wasn't until after 2 years that I realized that I was running my business incorrectly. And I started to take a leaf out of Macca's book. And that's what I want to share with you today, and how I believe that everybody can have their cake and sell it too. Before I share with you that, I'd just like to share with you a little story about me growing up, if I can, because I'd like to put all this into context as to why I am an accountant and why I talk about money. As a young boy, I grew up in a suburb called Essendon. If you follow the footy, you'll know where Essendon is. But for those of us that live in Essendon, it's a suburb about 10 k's, 7 or 8, 10 k's north of the city. And we refer, those of us that live in Essendon, we refer to it as the Toorak of the North. Right? It's still in the freaking north, but we call it the Toorak of the North. And so there's a few of us that get a little bit ahead of ourselves. And I was living in the Toorak of the North, Essendon, and going to a private boys' school. And I remember coming home from school. I picked my sister up from across the road, and my brother and my sister walked home from school. I think I was in about grade 5, grade 6 at the time. I was 11 or 12 years old. And as we walked in the front door at 3:30, my father was home. And that was quite abnormal for Dad to be home on a Tuesday afternoon at 3:30. Dad ran his own business, and we only ever saw him on Sundays. He was always working. And instantly, the three of us kids knew that something was up for Dad to be at home at 3:30. And Dad was sitting with Mum at the kitchen table, and Mum was, she was crying, and she was visually very upset. And my father was consoling her. And I looked up and I said, Mum, Dad, what's going on? And Dad said, Jay, unfortunately, our business has just gone under, and we've lost it. We're about to lose the house. The bank's going to sell the house from underneath us. We're going to have to sell our cars, and we're going to lose everything. And Mum, you know, mums are the best. Us dads, we come and go, but mums are the best. Mum leant over and put a hand on my forearm and said, Jace, but the good news is we're going to go and live at Nana Pat's house. And you know how we've all got, or had nans. You know how you got your good nan and your bad nan? Well, Nana Pat was the good nan, right? And we were sort of a little bit excited to go and live at Nana Pat's house, because every time we saw Nana Pat, she had this dirty big handbag. She'd always give us toys and chocolates and lollies and money, and it was fantastic. And so we were meant to move into Nana Pat's house for 12 months. Now, my Nana Pat was my father's mother, and my father was one of 4 boys. And we had the fortune or misfortune of our whole entire family, all 5 of us, moving into the 1 bedroom that my father grew up in as a teenage boy. And we were meant to live there for 12 months, and we ended up living there for 6 years. My nan lived in a suburb called Pashkavar, which is 3 or 4 train stations closer to Broadmeadows than away from it. And we moved a lot further away from the Toorak of the North. As I left primary school, I got a scholarship to go into a private boys' school and a high school. And I used to think, woe is me, this is not fair. All my friends, their parents drove Mercedes-Benz and BMWs and Jaguars and all these sort of pretty cool cars. And my mum drove a 1970 blue Ford Escort panel van. Mum and Dad didn't have any money. The panel van cost $500. They borrowed it off a friend, and they paid him back $10 a week for my mum to have a car. And I used to think, woe is me, this is not fair. My mum's car was one of those cars where the keys would fall out of the ignition and the engine would still run. You could put your finger in the lock barrel and start the car. And we talk about keyless entry nowadays. Mum had it for $500, right? And I used to think, well, with me, this is not fair, you know? And not only am I living at my nan's house, but my mum drives a freaking panel van, right? But not only that, back then, mum and dad, I'm 47 now, so 35 years ago, my mum and dad owed $101,500. They're in debt over 100 grand. So to talk like an accountant, their liabilities were 100,000 and their assets were zero. And that's a pretty long way back. You know, you talk about having a head start in life. That's a pretty long way back. And I started to think, you know, I was always dwelling on woe is me. I was a teenage boy going through my adolescent, pubescent, really formative years, living in the same freaking bedroom as my mum and dad, which is far from ideal. I'll give you the tip. And I was, you know, very woe is me. But, you know, as I've got older and a lot uglier, I started to think about the impact of mum and dad and the impost of my father, who at the age of 35, married with 3 kids, who'd lost his business, lost his home, is now living in the bedroom he grew up in as a teenage boy. And to help pay off the debt, we as a family, we would assemble taps together, hence the screen of the taps, the picture of the taps on your screen. Now, I don't know if you've ever assembled a tap before. It's not the funnest job, but every night after school, we'd sit around the kitchen table, mum and the 3 kids while my dad was working, and we would assemble taps. You get a spindle, you put a washer on, you put another washer on, you put the cold tap on, put another washer on, you put the cold sticker on, you tighten it up. You do the same thing for a hot tap. You rub it in bubble wrap, you put a bit of sticky tape on it, you put it in a cardboard box, you close the cardboard box, you push it to the side of the table, and we'd get 28 cents for a set of taps. And we did that every night after school for 6 years. A couple of nights a week, I was fortunate enough, after when I didn't have footy training, I'd get to go with my father to go cleaning at the local daycare centre, the local library, and a few other childcare centres to help my father clean and get some more money. And I used to think, well, it was me, this is not fair. And I remember the highlight of the school year, twice a year, at the first half of the year and the second half of the year, we'd go to our sister school, St. Columba's. I was a St. Bernard's boy. We'd go to the St. Columba's disco. And at the start of the year, my friend, Aaron, his mother had a Mercedes-Benz. She'd drop us right out the front door. And my mum had a 1970 blue Ford Escort panel van. She'd drop us 3 k's away up in East Keilor. And, you know, we'd walk down the hill to go to the disco. And I used to think, well, it was me. And it wasn't until mum and dad paid off their debt, we went into a rental property in Strathmore, we were getting closer. And mum and dad decided to sit us down and say, we're going back into business. And by this stage, I'm 16 or 17 years old. And I don't know if any of you have got teenage kids. I've got 3 of them now. But as a teenager, I knew everything. I said, Dad, sit down. Listen, you can't do this. This is crazy. You're mad. Because I knew everything. But for me, going into business translated into moving back into Nana Pat's house, and I didn't want that. Now, fortunately for me, and fortunately for mum and dad, they decided to go against my sage advice as a 17-year-old, and they went back into business, and they built a really successful, amazing, very profitable business. And even to this day, they're clients of our business, and they're one of our most profitable clients that we've got. And I tell you what, as their accountant, we charge them accordingly. I mean, you know, making them do tax as a 13-year-old kid. So I based this book and my yarn today about my story about Macca and about the story about my parents and also the thousands of clients that I've met along the journey. Make no mistake, this presentation is going to be talking about my experience as opposed to my opinion. And those of us in business, and I've been fortunate enough to be working in media for about 11 or 12 years. I work on Talkback Radio. I was on SCN, sports radio station, and now Triple M, and I had a chance to work on Channel 10 on the living room. And, you know, we often get a lot of feedback and a lot of opinion from a lot of people. And in business, you know, a lot of our friends and colleagues and family members might give us their opinion. And I learned early doors that your opinion of me is none of my business. It's your business. But speak to me from experience and I'll lend you my ear. And so I want to share with you some experience. You're not going to agree with everything that I say, and that's okay. But if you can take away 1, 2, or even 3 things that might help you with your business, then that's going to make me happy. I also need to reference, and I referenced at the start, I do like to have a little bit of fun. But if it's okay, I also sometimes use a little bit of French. So I apologise in advance if some of my French slips out and that offends too many people. So this book that I wrote, Have Your Cake and Sell It Too, it's got these 7 key ingredients to business success. If I could first share with you the overarching premise of the book, it is that I believe that every business owner should begin with the end in mind. And when I talk about the end in mind, I pinched this guiding principle, if you like, or a key habit from a gentleman called Dr. Stephen Covey, or Stephen Covey, depending on what side of the Moonee Ponds Creek you grew up on. And Dr. Stephen Covey wrote a book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of them is to begin with the end in mind. And for mine, I argue, and I've got this from Macca, I argue that every business owner should begin with the end in mind by building a business that's ready for sale, even if you don't want to sell it. Now, I meet a lot of clients, every week and every month, and I talk to the people about this preface of building a business that's ready for sale. And they say, Jay, I just got into business. I don't want to sell it. I say, yeah, that's cool. You don't have to sell it. But imagine you'd built a business that was ready for sale right now. What does it look like? What does it sound like? And what does it feel like? And for mine, a business that's ready for sale has got high profitability, amazing cash flow, a team that are a delight to work with, customers that come back over and over and over again. It gives you the freedom to come and go from work as you please. And in actual fact, when you're not there, the business operates better than when you are there. It enables you to have as much time off as you like. And at the end of the day, someone will write a dirty big check to take that business off your hands. Now, this is where the irony kicks in. When you get a business to that stage and build a business like Macca has, the irony is you don't want to sell it. But the beauty is it gives you some choice. So I want to talk about some of these key ingredients that'll enable us that if we follow this core process and these key ingredients, I believe you'll be the recipe for having a business that's ready for sale. Today, we're only going to cover the first 3. So the word success, as you can see down the side there, success is an acronym, and I mentioned that I don't mind an acronym, and most accountants don't. But the first S stands for the strategy piece. And I'm going to talk to you about having this sales mindset. The U in success is all about understand yourself. The C, the first C is customers. The next C is cash or kaching. The E is around the execution piece. The next S is the scariest of them all, and that's getting ready to sack yourself. Oh, shit, what am I going to do? We'll talk about that. And the final S is the actual sale, the realization of the sale of the business. But as I mentioned, I'm only going to go through the first 3. The importance of this philosophy is that we need to look at all 7 key ingredients. Too often in business, I see business owners that are really good at one aspect of their business. They might be really good at the customer piece, but they're not good at the financial piece. Or they might have the most amazing systems and processes, but are terrible around managing their people and managing their customers. And it's important that we look at all of these together and work on our business to achieve the true outcome of building a business that's ready for sale. So what do I talk about strategy? For mine, strategy is very important, and I liken it, I know that there is a significant correlation between successful small businesses and elite sporting clubs. And it all centers around the plan, the game plan or the strategy, and it centers around the acknowledgement of that strategy and the buy-in of that strategy for all the key stakeholders. Now, as a Melburnian, I live and breathe AFL footy, and I'd like to give you an analogy of a footy team that I know, that I don't vote for, but I know. As I mentioned, I worked on sports radio for 9.5 years on SEN and got to know a lot of footballers and a lot of ex-footballers and did, excuse me, a lot of talks and a lot of work with some people. And I got to know a guy by the name of Damien Hardwick. Damien Hardwick is the current coach of the Richmond Footy Club. And for those of you who follow footy, and I apologise for those of you who don't, so I won't spend too much time on it, but the Tiger Army, or the Richmond faithful, the perennial eat their own and turn on their own. And the Tigers, for quite some period of time, had this amazing habit of finishing 9th, just missing out on the top 8. And 2016 year was no different. And in actual fact, they were locked in to finish 9th, or maybe even a little bit lower. And the Richmond faithful started to turn on their own, and there was people running a ticket to overthrow the board and get rid of the coach and tip the players and all that sort of stuff. And, working on SEN, we were getting a lot of noise and a lot of feedback, and people were dumping manure and microwaving their memberships, and the whole Tiger Army is about to turn. The Richmond Footy Club's got some really strong leaders, 3, in actual fact, leaders that I know of. The first is a woman by the name of Peggy O'Neill. She's the chairperson of the Richmond Footy Club, and she stood up in front of the media nice and staunch and strong, and she spoke with a pragmatic approach and very much with conviction. And she said, I stand by our CEO, Brendan Gale, and I stand by our coach, Damien Hardwick. We believe we're on track. And Brendan Gale got up and said, we're going to get to 70,000 members. We're going to win 2 premierships. We're going to do this. And they were scoffed at and laughed at. But the board has held their ticket, stayed strong, and they continued on their journey. At the end of the 2016 year, the players departed and everyone involved in football, both on-field and off-field, got together and they worked for 2 weeks previously on tightening and developing their plan, the game plan, both on-field and off-field plan. And everyone was crystal clear and they worked it out, the nuances, they made some changes, they came in and came out and they prepared the plan. The players came back from their pre-season break, and did whatever they do, and they came back. And the first thing they did was they brought them into the classroom and they spent another 2 weeks teaching, coaching, developing, learning, sharing with them the plan. And it was all about the plan, the plan, the plan, the plan. Once they were ready, they went out on the track and they practiced the plan. And each player in their position knew what their role was in accordance with the overarching game plan. Then they practiced some more. They changed their diet. They ate well. They trained well. They exercised well. They practiced. They trained. They practiced. They trained. They went off to Christmas. They came back. Plan, 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 plan. Every single person in that Richmond sanctuary, every single person knew the plan. Fast forward to the first game. It was a Thursday night. Richmond played Carlton, arch rivals, a Thursday night at the MCG. The coach, Damien Hardwick's in there. The plan, the plan, the plan. Does everybody get the plan? We've got the plan. They run out to play. The ball's bounced. The ruckmen go at it. And 1 minute in, you'll see the camera pans up to the coach. He picks up the telephone, rings down to the runner. The runner runs out to Basher Hooley. Basher, you know the plan. He's a cheat. You've got to say goal side. The plan, the plan, the plan, the plan. And every 3 or 4 minutes, the runner would run out and talk to the plan and talk to the player about the plan. A minute before quarter time, you'll see the line coaches pick up their iPads and pick up their whiteboards. They go down, the siren goes, the players come off the field, the backs, the mids, the forwards, they hold up the board and they go, the plan, the plan, the plan, the plan. And they've got these indicators, these key performance indicators, whether it's inside 50, contested ball, meters gained, meters against, for against, all that stuff. They just talk to the KPIs and everybody is clear on the plan. As history tells us, they go on to win that game, win it convincingly. They go throughout the year, and at the end of 2017 year, the Tigers win the premiership. And you see Jack Revolt with the Killers singing Mr. Brightside with a medal around his neck at the end of the game. As the story goes, they end up winning another premiership last year, and the Tigers have become this amazing, successful footy club. Now, I pause it there. The correlation, well, the differences between most of our businesses and an elite sporting club like the Richmond Footy Club, but it doesn't have to be footy. It can be a basketball club. It can be, a rowing team. Anyone that's a soccer club, whatever. Successful elite sporting clubs, every single person is aware of the plan. They stick to the plan. They don't listen to outside noise. They listen to the internal noise. And most times they don't even look at the scoreboard. They look at the indicators because they know if they get the key indicators right, the score will look after itself. A lot of us small business owners, first, we don't have a plan. Some of us have got a plan, but it's about 5 years old. Some of us have got an updated plan, but we don't tell anyone about it. Oh, we can't tell my employees. Oh, God, we better keep that a secret. Every single person, from the boot starter, the physio, back pocket, Jack Revolt, centre half forward, the big fellow with the tats, I've forgotten his name, Dustin Martin, everybody knows the plan. And I'm telling you this, if we can get, as business owners, we can get our game plan right, our strategic plan, and get our game plan right, and we share that with our team and everybody gets buy-in, there's every chance that we're going to create greater synergy. And synergy is where the whole becomes greater than the sum of the parts. Too often as business owners, we think we need to lead and we need to do it our way. Yeah, maybe so, but we've got to get buy-in from our team. So the first is the S, the strategy, the game plan, the strategic plan, what direction you're going. Now, it's all well and good to develop a plan, but what happens if we get it wrong? It's okay to get it wrong. It's okay. We've got to be nimble enough and dynamic enough to change our plan to cope with today's circumstances. The U in success talks about understanding yourself. And there are 3 key important components to understanding yourself. You may have heard of that analogy that in business and in leadership, a fish rots from its head. It's us who drive the operating rhythm and the core values of our business. And therefore, it's us that needs to be standing on our soapbox and sharing that and delivering it with our team. So when I talk about understanding yourself, there's 3 key components that I want to share with you. The first is your purpose. Who do you serve and how do you serve them? What is your mission statement? If I haven't said it 20,000 times in 23 years, I'll go he. But ours is to help our clients achieve their business and personal goals through proactive service and ongoing advice. I implore every single business owner to be crystal clear on your mission statement. And I'll often ask who here's got a mission statement. And I'll see a few hands raised. And then I'll say, leave your hand up if you can tell me your mission statement without referring to anything. And a lot of people put their hands down. Now, I don't say that to be facetious or anything like that. What I do know this, I take 60 team members in our organization. I'm confident that 90% of my team can clearly articulate verbatim our mission statement, because they know who we serve and how we serve them. We know what that means and what our expectations are of them in delivering on that promise. The second piece is that 10%, 5 or 6 of them may not be able to share with you verbatim. They may have just started or they're a bit slow on the uptake, but they do know it's about helping our customers achieving their goals, being proactive and having an ongoing relationship. And that defines the work that we do. The second piece is around the core values or the culture of your organization. Even if your organization is 2, 3 or 4 people, the culture is like the operating rhythm of your business. It's the heartbeat. It's the soul of your organization. And I know that the single most important thing that I do as a leader in our organization is my role is to create and cultivate an environment that's not only conducive enough to attract the key people or the very best people in our organization, but it's also adhesive enough to hold on to them. And so therefore, at least 20% of my day is focused around our culture, the core values, and cultivating that environment so that I can allow my team members to be the very best that they can be. If I can create that environment where my team members are crystal clear and they know what's expected of them and they have the tools and resources at their disposal to be the very best that they can be, I create an environment that allows them to be vulnerable. It's safe to be vulnerable. It's safe to get it wrong. I know that my guys will be the very best that they can be. Coupled with creating an output-focused business as opposed to an input-focused business, and with this whole COVID ISO nightmare, it's forced a lot of us to be output-focused, where a lot of our team members are working remotely. Let's use that silver lining in these sort of 8-10 weeks that we've had off. Let's use that and stay operating business like that. So our core values, and I urge everybody to have some core values. Ours are we absolutely care about our team members and our customer. Secondly, we work ethically and we have integrity in our behavior in everything that we do. The third, from an accountant's going to stand crazy, but we like to have a bit of fun whilst we're at work. We don't take ourselves too seriously, but the work we do, we take real seriously. And we like to enjoy the company that we keep. And the final one is that we're committed and we're passionate. The third piece in understanding yourself is this whole notion of your why. Why do you do the things that you do? And I sort of lifted this from a guy by the name of Simon Sinek, who did that amazing Power of Why talk, TED talk, 10, 12 years ago. It's really believing and understanding that people are attracted to your belief system as opposed to what you do and how you do it. They're more engaged with your why. And our why, in 3 little words, it's all about liberating people's lifestyles. And we know that whenever we go to make a decision in our organization, if we can bring it back to center and focus on liberating our stakeholders' lifestyle, whether it's our team members, some people call them staff, but our team members, our customer or clients, or the people we pay money with, it's all about liberating people's lifestyles. So the next step for you, and I implore you to do, is work out and understand yourself. What is your purpose? What are your core values? And why do you do the things that you do? The third piece is the second most important people in our world, and they are our clients or our customers. And I find this really challenging. I know that when we first started business, we didn't have any clients, and it's been a big focus of mine to grow our organisation by retaining our current customer base, but also attracting new clients. And there's a couple of things that I'd like to share with you, but not too many. But the real one, people talk to me about when should I be marketing, Jason? I say, oh, you're always marketing, you're always on brand. But the thing I want to talk to you about is the importance about looking at your business through the eyes of your customer. And I think that's so important. I look across at my peers and my fellow accountants who are a wonderful bunch, but too often, too many accountants are talking like accountants. And so if I was to have a conversation with a client of mine, I spoke to you about the importance of your contingent liabilities and really working on your Division 7A loan agreement and the multiple of 5 times EBITDA and all this sort of stuff, you're going to go, what the fire truck are you talking about, Jason? But if I had a conversation with you I said, our business is really focused on liberating your lifestyle. And how we want to work with our customers, we believe that most of our customers and most of our clients would like to work less and make more money. They'd like to free themselves up from the business and really have, hours down and dollars up. They'd like to increase their net tax take-home pay after tax, and they want to be in a position where they can invest their money and get the best return possible. My clients understand that language. And so I implore you as a business owner, whether you run a cafe, a restaurant, a bookshop, you're in the hospitality industry, you're a transport driver, you're in HR, recruitment, you're a doctor, whatever it is that you do, to really understand and look at your business through the eyes of your customer. About 10 years ago, I was down in Lorne on the Great Ocean Road, and I was at an accounting conference. And it was just after I'd written my first book, and I'd got up in the morning and there was a tax conference going on and something about superannuation, all that sort of stuff. And to be honest with you, at conferences, I do my best work after 5. And I'll be honest with you, I may not have made it to the gym that morning, and it might have been just a little bit dusty. And when you're in a conference and it's boring and you're hungover and the aircon's on, the heating's on nice and high, you sort of find yourself nodding off to sleep. And I thought I might escape and grab myself a coffee. So I left it and went across the road, grabbed the coffee, and I came across a bookshop. And those of you who I've met before have heard me speak before. I may have a slightly little large ego, maybe as big as the MCG. And I walked up to the bookshop carrying my coffee with me, and I walked up to the bookshop to see if my book was in there. And the book I wrote was called Where's My Money? And as I came to the threshold of the bookshop, I was greeted by 2 signs on the window. The first one had a picture of a coffee cup with a red cross through it. And I'm like, oh, shit. And the second one underneath it said, no food or drink allowed in our store. Kids, leave your school bags at the front. Mum and Dad, keep an eye on your kids, tie your dogs up. And I thought, what the hell's going on in this guy or woman's mind? I don't know much about much, but what I do know about retail, the number one thing in retail is get the customer in the shop, And on the Great Ocean Road, one of the biggest tourist destinations in Victoria, this guy is saying, please don't come in here if you've got a coffee, where most people are drinking a coffee in the middle of winter. And I thought to myself, if that was my business, I'd rip those signs down and I'd replace it with one dirty big sign across the window that said, free coffee for all my customers. Coffee costs you about 25 cents to make. Free coffee get the client in the joint. In the middle of summer, I'd say, come in, the aircon's on, free ice cream for the kids. You imagine them, you walk in with your 3 or 4 kids, you get them a little whirly ice cream, they're licking away. The old Catholic guilt slips in, buying a couple of books for the kid. What a marketing ploy that would be. Anyway, I went back a few years later and there we are, the sign's still there. So, from a customer's perspective, I think the most important thing, don't look at your business like the bookshop owner did, where somebody spilt a coffee or a kid lifted a book. Maybe look at it through a different set of eyes. Maybe look at it through the eyes of the client. And what does the client want to see, want to hear, want to experience? How do I remove any pain point from that client or from that customer so that they can engage with us? In closing, before I get to some Q&A, and I really do appreciate your time for those of you who stayed with us. My experience tells me that there are 5 barriers that really hold most businesses back from true success. The first is that typically the business relies too much on the business owner for leverage. Secondly, the owner is the one that supports the business owner's lifestyle. And the countless conversations I've had with clients where they're the last ones to get paid. And I know, no disrespect, these times right now, I know I've taken a salary cut in our business because, times like this, abnormal pandemic nightmare times, we've got to make some significant changes in our business. I'm not necessarily talking about now. I'm talking about how do we pop out of this. A lot of business owners only make enough money to survive. And I find the irony in this, I've had clients, I've been in business 23 years. I've had clients for over 20 years and they've grown up with me. They've been 25, now they're 45 and 55, whatever. And they've seen them get married and have kids, and then their kids go to private school. And I've seen them make the same amount of money every year until their kids go to school, and then they find a way to make more money. Too often there's this short-term now thinking, and it's all about survival. But the big one is fear. I think the thing that holds most of us back from achieving true success is fear. And I want to share with you a little story about fear, if I can. When I got into business early doors, my business partner explained to me, Jace, It's just business, just making a business decision. We get it wrong, we get it wrong. My story is this. I mentioned earlier, I went to an all-boys primary school and I went to an all-boys secondary school. I was fortunate enough to get some good marks and I got into university and I did an accounting degree. And at university, guess what? There were girls. And I remember second year uni, this beautiful, tall, gorgeous looking young woman walked in and you know, I instantly, you know, fell in love or lust or whatever it is. And we became boyfriend and girlfriend, a bit of smooching and all this sort of stuff. And her name's Angela. And Angela and I were a bit of smooching and next minute we're married and it's all well and good and we're all excited. And before we knew it, we were pregnant. Actually, don't you love it when a bloke says we were pregnant? I'm pretty confident Angela was pregnant and I'm pretty confident I was party to that. And we were pregnant. We're really excited. And we found out when we went to the obstetrician, we found out that we were having twins. That scared the shit out of me and scared the life out of Angela. And see, when you're pregnant, and for those of you that have been pregnant or been married or with somebody that's pregnant, normally you wait to this the marker, the 12-week gestation period before you share the joy of having kids. And I'm not overly strong at keeping a secret that involves myself and some exciting news. So I sort of told mum and dad and my brother and sister and a couple of mates at the footy club and a few other friends and mentioned on radio a couple of times, whatever. Anyway, we go off to see a sonographer at week 12 or just after week 12 in Lygon Street, Carlton. And the sonographer, you know, lifts up Andrew's shirt, puts some jelly on her belly, gets a thing, and we look up on the screen and we see our unborn babies. So anyway, we're waiting with trepidation and we're really excited and we knew we were having twins at this stage. And the sonographer's first words to us were, "Oh dear." And I'm like, what? What do you mean, oh dear? I mean, I'll tell you right now, as an expectant parent, I'll tell you the first two words you don't want to hear from the sonographer are, "Oh dear." And she said, "Look, Jason, the issue is this, your twin boys are identical twins. And sometimes with identical twins, they suffer from a thing called twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome." Twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome is where their little umbilical cords, there's one placenta that is shared. Identical twins are when the egg splits in half. There's one placenta and the umbilical cords intersect into the one placenta. And sometimes the blood supply is uneven. And unfortunately, that little one on the left is going to demise. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I look at Ange and she looks at me and it's a disaster. And she said, "You got to come back in, I mean, he's going to demise. I don't even know what that word means." And she said, "You got to come back in 2 weeks and we're going to have some discussions about what you need to do. But the first breath is you've got to get a new obstetrician. You've got to go and see this guy. His name's Dr. Mark Umstead and he's the head of the multiple birth clinic. He's the number one guy." So we tipped our obstetrician. We went and saw this dude, and he's not bad. I talk about customer engagement. It's $7.5 grand before you cross the threshold, just tap and go sort of action. In we go. He's got cufflinks. He's got more money than God. But the man was brilliant. And he said to us, and he spoke to Angela, and he said, "Angela, where we're at is we need to monitor you every week. You know, I think typically when you're having a baby, you might have 2, maybe 3 scans." I think Angela had something like 17 or 18 scans, right? And we'd go through this monitoring process. We went back in 2 weeks and lo and behold, oh, he's catching up, you know. And then a week later, oh, he's going down, he's coming up. And it's this enormous roller coaster ride. And I remember the doc saying, "Look, guys, this is going to be really tough. I don't want you to listen to any outside noise. This is the decision. This is your two decision. I'll help you the whole way. But it's going to get to a point at 20, 21, at the latest 22 weeks where we need to make a decision." And you see, this is a decision that nobody wants to make. And what do you do? Do you sacrifice one to save the other? You know. And the other challenge that we had was that, so the little one on the left wasn't getting enough blood supply. The challenge for the one on the right is he was getting too much, and he could have had a cardiac arrest. So we get to, excuse me, it's a bit of hay fever, something in my eye. We get to 19 weeks, 20 weeks, 21 weeks. We sort of stopped talking about it, and we sort of just ignored it, if you like. And we got to 22 weeks, and I guess we we made a decision by not making a decision. So we come out the other side and we're at 22, 23 weeks and we start preparing for when our kids are going to be born. And typically gestation, it lasts for 40 weeks. Twins, it's sometimes a little bit earlier, about 38 weeks. And so I start, as the business owner, as the accountant, I start the negotiation process with the doc. And he goes, Jace, forget about 40 weeks. I go, okay, I understand. I go, what about this, doc? What about 36 weeks? Because 36 on 40, that's 90%. I'll take an A+ all day long. He goes, you're kidding yourself, young fella. I go, all right, fair enough. Because you always shoot a bit high in the negotiation. You always got a bit upset. I go, Doc, what about this? What about 32 weeks? He goes, no chance. You'd be lucky to make 30 weeks. And so we went to the neonatal NICU. It's called neonatal intensive care unit. We got ourselves prepared. Ange got some surfactant and steroids and all this sort of stuff pumped in. And to cut a long story short, our boys were born 29 weeks and 1 day. We really wanted to get to 30 weeks. We didn't make it, but we got to 29 weeks and 1 day. The little one on the left was born at 1.005 kilos, and we named him Lewis. And the one on the right was born at 1.250 kilos, and we called him the fat bastard. No, we called him Jack. So this is my boys here. I don't know which is which, to be honest. The identical twins who know. No. The one on the left in the yellow with the little freckle, that's Lewis, and his brother is on the right. This is a picture of my boys now last year. My boys are 6'1" and 6'2". They're taller than their father, and it's little skinny whippets, and they can see, hear, walk, talk, and we're very fortunate. We're blessed. What is the point of telling you that story? Well, one, it makes me a little bit upset, but the other thing is that's what fear is. Business is just business. We're always going to make a mistake, but most of us are too fearful to make a change or to engage to change our website or to do things differently or hire that next employee or take a risk on something. I say, throw that out the window. Life and death, kids, that's risky. But business is business. And if fear is what's holding us back, man, we're bananas in pajamas coming down the stairs. So where to from here? I guess, before I wrap up, and I might just see if I can run through some questions. I didn't really work the chat room and the screen and all that. My EA's run away. She's got a slight drinking problem, but that's okay. Where to from here? Some people are going to say, oh, that's great. Nice little preso. You got a little bit upset at the end, and I know well and good. Some people do something, and I implore you to do something. Whether that is to rethink what your purpose is and workshop that with your team. To have a set of core values so that you can become an employer of choice. One of the fortunate things that's happened as a result of COVID-19 is it's becoming back to being an employer's market. We can handpick the very best that there is. It might be to create a culture where we allow our team members to be the very best that they can be. It might be to develop a game plan. Whatever it is that you want to do, I implore you to do it. If you want to find out a bit more about us and what we do, my website is there, thepractice.com.au. You can register and put your details down. We've got our blog there. If you want to ask me any questions, if you want to have a conversation around how to build a plan, you can do that. If you want to get a copy of my book, you can do that too. That's at jasoncunningham.com.au. I also put together an audio book. I put together a business bundle for those of us that don't like to read. So there's an audio book, which is me crapping on and reading the book. And I go off topic a little bit and talk about some funny stories. And there is a little bit of French in that. I apologize. But I also put in it our one-page strategic plan. It's a template that you can use to develop your own plan. Whatever it is that you want to do, I say go for it. All right, so I've got a couple of questions here. The first is, hey, Jason, appreciated the top 5 business barriers. What is your wisdom in accelerating your clients through this? As I mentioned, I spoke a fair bit about fear. Yeah, that's one thing. I want to talk to you about this piece, and I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, but this piece that most business owners earn enough to survive, and that's it, and most business owners pay themselves last. When we started our business, I'll just have a drink of my cold peppermint tea. When we first started our business, I mentioned to you that I was earning $100 a month, which was $1,200 a year. At
when we wrote our first strategic plan, Robin and I made the decision that every year we're going to give ourselves a pay rise. And so the year after, we went from $100 a month to $100 a week. Then we went to $250 a week, $500 a week, $1,000 a week, $2,000 a week, $3,000 a week, and we kept increasing our salary. I'm telling you, the definition of having a company and the individual that runs the company, that director, is they're two distinct, separate legal entities. There needs to be a clear delineation. Like, here's a tip for you. Give yourself a pay rise. You can always give it back. But if you force the organization, the company that you run, to earn extra income to pay you more, you will find a way. You know, when you take out a new lease or go to a new office or a new factory, or, you know, get a new shop front and it's more expensive than the last one, somehow we find a way to make more money. When we hire that new person, or we give someone, our team members, a pay rise and our wages bill goes up, we find a way to make more money. I'm going to implore you to pay yourself more. You can always give it back. Okay, a question here from Glenn. Two questions. Thanks, Glenn. How did Macca run his business? The key to Macca, a lot of us that run our businesses, we might be osteopaths, or, you know, a good friend of mine, Ange Connor, runs a business called Inspire HQ up in Ballarat. I'm no doubt. She was on the panel today at lunchtime. She's an amazing businesswoman, but she went into it because she's an HR professional. I went into accounting because I'm an accounting professional. Macca did not practice in the business that he ran. And so what he did was he hired people better than him around him and got them to run and transact and do the business, and he led the business. Okay, a question here, another one from Glenn. Thanks, mate. How do you define the ideal culture across all businesses? That's a great question. I said at the start, for mine, culture is driven from the leader of the organization. But there's a couple of key aspects to having a great culture. If your culture is airtight, and culture talks, for mine, around the behaviors. And if you've got a good culture, your team are operating the same way, whether you're there or you're not there, but also the team will squeeze out the bad eggs out of your organization. And for us, our culture is pretty crystal clear. We care about each other and our customer. We like to have fun. We operate with integrity, and we're ethical in our behavior, and we're passionate and we're committed. And our culture was truly tested in the last 7 or 8 weeks, particularly up until the 30th of April. We have about 3,500 clients in our business. And for the most part, you know, there was times where I finished work at midnight, 1 a.m., but I wasn't the only person. And when your customers are coming to you as that first port of call, we became like quasi financial counselors. To be honest with you, we didn't know what was going on. The landscape was changing every 48 hours. The government didn't know what was going on. I think the government, you know, on the record or off the record, I think the government did an outstanding job, both at state and federal and local levels. I think they did an outstanding job in the heat of the moment. But we were learning on the hop, and our business, we got hit. You know, I got a lot of clients that are in hospitality, or in cafes, pubs, nightclubs, restaurants, yoga centers, indoor Pilates studios, chiropractors, osteopaths, physios. The income went to zero. And it's hard for you to invoice a client for the work you've done when you know they got no brass. And that was a true testament for our business. And I think for mine, culture, it's easy to have a great culture when things are going really well and you're high five and you're kicking goals. But what happens when the proverbial hits the fan? And I go back to those elite sporting teams, and I played footy for a long time, from the age of 8 to the age of 35. And I love my footy, but I know when we were playing another side and we had them rattled and they started turning on each other and started yelling abuse at each other, I knew we had them. And so when the definition of a strong, powerful, awesome culture is when times are tough, the team bandies together and sticks together. There's some other stuff in my book when I talk about building a good culture is around having guiding principles, which I think is pretty important. And we've got some guiding principles that talk about how we communicate as a team. And they're things like we seek first to understand another person before I expect them to understand themselves. We allow each other to operate, focus on their strength and operate within their genius. We make each other look good. There's a few other key, arms to our guiding principles that we like to follow. And I think that's really important. So yeah, that's that question. I'm getting a message saying, Jason, can you please get off? We're running out of time. Yeah, thanks, Glenn. I'm going to leave it there. I'd just like to say to everybody, I know it's been tough. We've never been tested like this before as business owners. You know, I remember when it first started, the first impulse was the impact on the share market, and our market dropped from 7,100 to a bit below 5,000. The All Ordinaries went from 7,100 points to about 4,900 and got belted, come off about 35%. And we were fielding calls from our clients. What's going on? The world's ending. There's blood on the streets. And then the next indicator was when we were, losing our mind in the supermarket and punching on over toilet paper, tissues, baked beans, and 2-minute noodles. But the third thing has been this whole coming together and sharing the load and everyone taking a haircut. And it's now become the new norm. And we have never been tested like the way we've been tested. The opportunity now exists to how do we bounce from this? How do we come together? And I've often said to business owners during this time, the 3 things you need to look at is what can I do for me? What can the government do for me? And what can I do for my community, and the community in turn do for me? And I think this is what we need to focus on. I think, Commerce Ballarat, I just love working with these guys because the amount of work that they put back into the small business community in Ballarat is outstanding. I've met a lot of great people. I spoke about Ange Connor, and I'll give her a shout out because I reckon she's a rock star and Inspire HQ. But for mine, it's about what do we do now? What's the chance, the big buzzword, and I heard Lucy with what a cool head of hair she's got, Lucy Bloom. But I heard her talk about the word pivot and how she hates it. I'm sick of the word pivot too, but what do we do now? And, when people talk about pivoting, I still reckon you've got to pivot around your purpose. Who do I serve and how do I serve her? You got to focus on that. The cost of COVID-19 and all that sort of stuff and the restrictions that have been placed on us is how do we streamline our organisation to still deliver on who do I serve and how do I serve them? I think that's the key. I want to thank everybody. As I mentioned, if you want any more details, jump on the website, thepractice.com.au. If you want to grab a copy of my book, go to jasoncunningham.com.au. If you want to get a copy of the audio book, go to jasoncunningham.com.au. If you don't, that's cool too. Thank you so much. I possibly went a little bit over. I know you're going to have virtual drinks soon, and that's sort of like a typical thing in my world at 5 o'clock. Now I'm getting better at it. But I'd like to thank Jody, Michelle, and Rebecca and the team at Commerce Ballarat. Thanks again, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.